Haven Hearth is a brutally hard survival MMO where you'll need to use every ounce of your strength and wits to survive, but new characters start out about as strong and smart as a newborn baby, so today we're going to take a deep dive into building your stats in Haven. If you don't already understand the game's controls and how to build a safe base, I recommend watching my other Haven and Hearth guides first. I'll put a link to the playlist in the description. With that out of the way, the first thing to know is that Haven has two major stat groups, attributes and abilities. Let's start by covering attributes. Strength is the first of the combat attributes, influencing damage dealt by melee or unarmed attacks. It's immensely useful for miners as it allows you to mine harder rock nodes and increases your overall mining speed. It's also used in lifting and destroying objects like buildings and containers. Some objects can't even be destroyed by a character with low strength. Finally, like all attributes, strength is used in various crafting formulas, notably influencing the quality of certain metal items. The second of your combat attributes, your agility, is compared against an enemy's agility to determine your attack speed as well as the enemy's attack speed. This makes agility a crucial attribute both for offense and defense. Intelligence is arguably one of the most important attributes for new players, as it increases your attention limit, allowing you to study more and stronger curios. We'll go over this in detail later, when we discuss abilities. It's also used with the stealth ability to determine the visibility and quantity of sense when committing criminal acts, making it more difficult to track you back to your home if you steal from or otherwise slight another player. The final combat attribute is Constitution, which determines your max HP. It also allows you to swim for longer before drowning. Perception is another important stat for new players. Your perception is multiplied by your exploration ability to get your per XP value, a number that limits the amount of and types of forageables you can see with the foraging skill. The higher your per XP, the more items you can see, so increasing perception helps you find more and new types of items. And if you need to track a criminal by a scent, perception combined with your intelligence will make that easier. Charisma's most notable use for new players is increasing the rewards you get from completing quests, and also assists in claim upkeep for villages by increasing authority gain. Dexterity is almost exclusively useful in crafting. Will is combined with your survival ability to improve your fishing ability when using a primitive casting rod, allowing you to find more types of fish. Will also increases your character's maximum travel weariness tolerance, allowing you to fast travel further and more often. And finally, Psyche is another crafting attribute, used extensively in jewel crafting. New characters start with a humble 10 in all attributes, and in order to increase that value, you'll need to eat. Almost every food in Haven has a value in food event points, or FEPs, which you can view by hovering your mouse over the item. FEPs correspond to a specific attribute, and increase your chance of gaining that specific attribute on level up. Do be aware that, as of World 16, if your energy bar is less than 80% full, you won't gain FEPs or hunger from eating unless you feast at a table. We'll go over feasting in more detail later. If you look at the front page of your character sheet, you'll see your FEP bar. This bar tells you how many FEPs you need to gain an attribute level, and how many FEPs of each attribute you've consumed so far this level. The base amount of FEPs you need to eat to gain an attribute level is equal to your highest attribute, so it might be helpful to try and increase your stats evenly. There's also a variety bonus, where each unique food that you eat reduces the required amount of FEPs for that level. You can also mix and match FEPs of different attribute types. For example, if you eat only yellow feet, a mushroom that gives 1 strength FEP and 1 intelligence FEP, when you gain an attribute level, you have a 50-50 chance between gaining a point of strength or intelligence. Another important factor to be aware of is hunger level. The hungrier your character is, the more bonus FEPs they gain from eating, making it easier to level your attributes. Different foods might fill up your character a little or a lot, so when considering what you should eat, make sure to prioritize foods with low hunger values. These will keep your character hungry, allowing for faster attribute gains when eating. Your character will slowly become hungry again as time passes, so if you find yourself getting too full to get the attribute gains you want, just avoid eating for a while. The fuller you are, the faster the bar empties. There are also some alternative methods of emptying your stomach, such as questing and consuming salt crystals. Another way to maximize your gains is making sure you're eating the highest quality food available. Items and objects in Haven almost always have quality values, which influence their effectiveness when used. Finding, cultivating, and crafting higher quality ingredients in food will improve their FEP values, making it easier to level your attributes. Next, let's go over feasting. If you build a table and chair, you can sit at the table to feast, gaining various bonuses to FEP gains and hunger. Crafting and placing tableware from the symbol crafting menu will further these bonuses. Although your options as a new player are fairly limited, as you unlock new recipes, you'll find symbol items to be extremely valuable. Be aware that the quality of the chair you sit in, as well as the symbol items you set the table with, will increase the effectiveness of the bonuses you get from feasting. Finally, to optimize your FEP gains, you should also understand the basics of satiations. This system sees a lot of changes in between worlds, so I'll only be reporting on the fundamentals of the system to avoid incompatibility with future worlds. Essentially, eating foods will temporarily satiate your character on foods of that type, reducing your FEP gains accordingly. Satiations go away over time, and some can be given a beneficial buff by consuming drinks like milk, wine, and beer from an appropriate container. For the most part, all you need to know to benefit from this system is to avoid relying too much on a single type of food. Before we wrap up talking about attributes, I want to mention that there are also several ways to temporarily increase or decrease your attributes. Clothing can give you a substantial increase, bringing you up as far as double your base attribute value. There are also some cases where clothing can decrease your attributes, so pay attention to what you wear. Being afflicted with wounds can be another cause of decreased attributes. You can find out which wounds, if any, are decreasing your stats in the Health and Wounds section of your character sheet. That about covers it for attributes. Now it's time to move on to abilities. There are 3 combat-relevant abilities: unarmed combat, melee combat, and marksmanship. I won't be providing a combat guide in this video. I'll provide links to resources for that in the description, but for now I'll leave you with the knowledge that unarmed and melee magnify the effects of different combat moves, whereas marksmanship lets you make the most of your bow and arrow. Like I mentioned earlier, the exploration ability is multiplied with your perception to determine what kinds of and how many forageable goods you'll be able to find while wandering the world. Additionally, if someone has committed a criminal act on your land, higher exploration, along with your perception, will make it easier for you to track down the perpetrator. On the other hand, if you yourself commit such acts of mischief, raising your stealth along with your intelligence will make it harder for others to track your location from the scene of the crime. Sewing is mainly a crafting ability, used widely as a soft cap to the quality of crafted clothes and equipment. Smithing likewise soft caps the quality of metal items and jewelry. Masonry is an important ability for mining, crafting, and exploring. It hard caps the quality of any gathered stone, sand, ore, or clay, including forageable kinds like grey clay. And it's also used in quality formulas for pottery and other such crafts. Carpentry is used in quality formulas for wooden crafts, including sawing boards. Besides being used in formulas for cooked food, cooking will also influence the quality of certain important materials like bone glue. Raising your farming ability will allow you the potential to raise the quality of your planted crops once they grow, and also soft caps the quality of products harvested from domesticated animals. It also hard caps the quality of wild wind-sown weeds and wild crops, 2 means of gathering crop seeds. Lore is mainly used in crafting, and, together with charisma, increases authority gain for villages. Survival is probably the second of the most important abilities for new players, hard capping the quality of water, soil, and forageables, as well as hunted animals and any products acquired from butchering them. The vast majority of the items you will acquire in early game will be affected by your survival, and since most of those items have a minimum uncapped quality of 10, I recommend raising your survival to 10 as soon as possible, then continuing to raise it at your own pace from there. In order to do so, you'll need learning points. Learning points, or LP, are a critical resource for all players. They have a variety of functions, but today we're concerned about using them to level up your abilities. If you followed my previous guides, you'll already be familiar with gaining LP through discoveries. Essentially, you're given a small amount of LP anytime you acquire an item for the first time out in the wild or by crafting. This is great when you're just starting out, since the world is filled with items you haven't discovered yet. But as you progress, you'll need to find a more sustainable source of LP. This is where curiosities come in. Curios are items that your character can study, consuming them over time to convert them into LP. You'll know an item is a curio if you right-click on it and the study option appears. Once selected, the curio will be sent to your study report, a special inventory in the abilities section of your character sheet, where, after some time, the item will be consumed, disappearing and granting your character LP. The studying process continues while you're logged out, awarding you LP the next time you log in. Be aware that if you remove a curio from your study report, its timer will reset and you'll have to start the studying process again. The amount of curios your character can study at once is limited by several factors. First, your character can't study multiple of the same curio at the same time. If you're studying a dandelion, you have to wait to finish it before you can study another dandelion. Second, your study report functions just like a normal inventory, meaning it must have room for the curio you want to study. Finally, each curio has a mental weight. This describes the amount of attention that the curio takes up while being studied. Your maximum available attention is equal to your current intelligence, so raising your intelligence helps you gain LP faster. The amount of attention required, the amount of LP granted, and the amount of time needed to study a curio all vary from item to item, and can be viewed by hovering your mouse over the item. So which curios are the best ones to study? The best curio is one that effectively uses the resources you have: time, attention, and space in your study report. For example, a new player with only 10 intelligence could study a monarch butterfly. This would consume all of their attention for roughly 2.5 hours, with a payout of 600 LP. However, in that same 2.5 hours, they could study 3 cattail heads, 1 tansy, 1 tuft of squirrel's finest hair, 4 woodworms, and 4 dandelions, for a total of 1,450 LP, using their attention much more wisely. However, if this same new player is about to log off for the night, they won't be able to replace finished curios with new ones in their study report. That means they'll only gain 950 LP until they next log in, let's say 8 hours later. They could instead study a gooseneck barnacle, a fishy eyeball, a thorny thistle, and a springtime bumblebee for a total of 2,950 LP, using their time much more wisely. Though this is assuming the player doesn't yet have a study desk, an object that auto-replaces curios in your study report even when you're offline. It also doesn't account for which curios are easiest to obtain. Adjust these strategies with what resources are available to you, and you can make better decisions about which curios will work best. There is one more resource I haven't gone over. Experience points. These are acquired passively as you play the game through experience events, semi-random events triggered by doing anything from sitting in a chair to crafting an item. Experience points are required in small amounts to study curios, and are also used in hearth magic. The average player won't need to go out of their way to grind XP, but if you find yourself running low, completing quests, including the tutorial quests and those associated with certain skills, is a good way to get more. So to recap, for new players the most important abilities are exploration and survival, and the most important attributes are perception and intelligence. And before I end the video, I'll leave an extra tip. Fishing is a great early game source of both ability and attribute growth. You'll earn LP for catching, butchering, and roasting or spit roasting each individual fish, and cooked fish can be great for those early game feps. Hopefully this video helped you understand progression in Haven a little better, but if you have any questions or requests for future videos, feel free to drop them in the comments below, and have fun!